Hello, I'm an old fart, and I have a guilty pleasure. I like knives. I'm not an official representative of anybody or anything. I just like knives. And for a little over a year now, you've been joining me, sort of weekly, on a tour through my collection of small folding pocket knives. Thanks for the company. Today we're going to look at this little knife. This is a Smooth Sentinel by Wee Knives. So where did this come from? Well, unlike a lot of the knives in my collection, this is actually quite a recent purchase. I haven't bought a new knife for a while now, and I came across this one in the online catalog of a supplier that I deal with and liked the looks of it and ordered it. And then, of course, was immediately told it was back ordered. But the wait wasn't too long, turned out to be only about 3 months. While I was waiting, I was quite excited to see that Nick Shabatz had one and reviewed it. And gee, Nick, I hope I'm pronouncing your name properly. Shabazz? I don't know. And Nick liked it. And well, that was good news because I generally like the things that Nick likes, and I have a lot of respect for him as a reviewer. I don't always dislike things Nick dislikes, by the way. He didn't like the Kershaw leak very much, and I do. But so anyway, I was very excited to have the thing arrive, and eventually, just a few weeks ago, it did. So here we are. I've been carrying it pretty much full time for a couple of weeks in order to have a good feeling of it for this review. So formally, this is Wee Knives. This is a Smooth Sentinel. It comes in a variety of finishes and like both blade finishes and scale finishes. So this is the stonewashed version, stonewashed everywhere, and the marbled carbon fiber scales. And it's very nice. So the mechanism, as you just saw, this is a front flipper, or sorry, not a front flipper, this is a side flipper. It's running on caged ceramic bearings, very smooth. They call it a frame lock. There's the frame lock. I think technically it would be better called a bolster lock because the frame lock mechanism is completely covered with scales. But I don't really know the technical terminology, and I'll certainly refer to the knife the way the manufacturer does, so let's call it a frame lock. Drop point blade, we'll come back to that. So a very nice traditional titanium frame lock side flipper. The size, and I think it's one of the reasons I like this thing so much, it is definitely in the small mid-sized range, which is what I like. It is a mid-sized knife, and it's also quite narrow, so it really comes across feeling compact. It's not short and stubby, it's just compact and small, and that's all good. Sizes, well, most important, it's at 177 millimeters. It's less than a pocket calculator, as you can see, about 0.95 pocket calculators. And to compare it to a few things, my standard is the Mini Griptilian, which is 172, so it's slightly larger than a Mini Griptilian, but certainly sort of the same size. The difference is even smaller from the small Sebenza, 175 millimeters, 177, so you can call it pretty much the same size, and it's within a fraction of a millimeter, it's the same size as the Monterey Bay Knives Mini Old Guard, which you may recall I really liked when I reviewed it, so I think there's a theme here. I like this size of knife. It's also a surprisingly light knife. That Mini Old Guard, for example, is quite a beast. This is really light. It's 60 grams. That's less than the 80 grams of the Mini Griptilian, so noticeably lighter. And it's only about 3 grams more, in fact, than a bug out, which is, as we all know, is a stupidly light knife. So it's actually in that class, a very light, compact knife. Let's talk about the blade. The blade is a drop point, which is great for me. I love drop point blades. It's a stonewashed finish. I don't have many stonewashed blades, and I must say I do kind of like it. That it's not the wannabe ninja all black, but it's not the calling attention to itself and easily fingerprinted polished chrome either. It's in between, and I actually kind of like it. 20 CV steel, which is great steel, and a fraction under 3 inches, 2.9 something, I think, inches, like 0.97, I think, 3/1000th of an inch. Anyway, why that matters is if you're in a place where 3 inches is a magic legality limit, this is under it, but only if the inspecting officer has a micrometer handy. It's also a very convenient and comfortable blade size for me. The body, it's titanium body. It's 2 pieces with spacer pins, and it has 2 full-sized carbon fiber scale slabs on it. There is a clip. There's the clip. It's bent titanium, and as you can see, it is a deep carry clip, which is great. I like deep carry clips, and it is 2-side mountable. It comes here mounted for right pocket carry, but there are mounting holes on this side for left side carry, so a reversible clip. There is no lanyard hole, but there is a lanyard pin, and what I mean by that is these spacer pins. This one, as you can see, is not a straight cylinder. It's sort of pulley shaped, so I interpret that as meaning it was meant to put a fob around that if you want one. Now, it is very close to the live edge of the blade, so if you were going to tie a lanyard around that, you'd need to, there we are, you'd need to tie it quite tight to make sure that it was not getting eroded by the blade. But anyway, I think, actually, that probably, that would work. I was going to say that would make sense as on the wrong end, but no, it's not. It's on the clip end. So I think that is clearly intended to be available as a lanyard tie-off point if you wanted. But I think it would spoil the lines of this beautiful, compact little knife. I wouldn't do it. How about ambidextrositude? So for opening as a side flipper, yes, absolutely. And it's, by the way, we'll come back to this, but it's a very easy flip mechanism. So even a lefty can open that quite easily, which is great. The clip, as we've talked about, is 2-sided, but I would say for locking, no, it's a frame lock. Those are hard to operate with your left hand, at least left-handed friends have told me that. And we'll come back to this. There's also a bit of a lock stick problem, which makes it even harder to unlock with your left hand. So let's say it's not really very ambidextrous. Manufacturing, it is WE knives. They are made in China, Guangdong, China. Very high manufacturing tolerances. It's a beautiful piece of machining. So, likes and dislikes. What do I like? Well, I like the mechanism a lot. The side flipper, it has just the right amount of detent. It's not so loose that it tends to open when I don't want it to, but it isn't a struggle. It just, with minimal effort, it pops open really nicely. I have knives, side flipper knives, that I can barely get open. Not this one. Part of the reason there is that the detent is just right. The other is that there's a good amount of jimping on the flipper tab. So anyway, it opens beautifully. Like that a lot. Closing, there is a cutout for the thumb, so it's easier to get your thumb in there to initiate the closing mechanism, and I like that too. It would be hard to unlock without that because it is a compact knife. I like the appearance. It is sleek. It is simple. I love the beautiful carbon fiber scales. That marbling is just a gorgeous effect. And I will say, this knife has no pits or voids in the carbon fiber. I have had some where when you attempt to produce sort of polished carbon fiber cut in the flat direction that tend to void or pit. None here. This is just a beautiful scale surface. And as I mentioned already, I actually kind of like this dull stone-washed finish. And I like that the body titanium and the blade sort of continue that visual line. So I think it's a beautiful knife to look at. I like the size. It's compact, but it's not too small to be comfortable with. I get 4 fingers on it. And I can hold it easily. It's large enough that I can work the mechanism. So although it's compact, it's not cramped. I love the blade. 20 CV steel is a great steel. I like drop point blades, and it was super sharp coming out of the box, all of which is good. Finally, I like the clip a lot. I like deep carry clips. This is deep enough to actually be quite nice in the pocket. And more important, or as important, it's not too tight. I've got some knives that, although they're deep carry, they're still not very pocket friendly because it clamps on my pocket so tightly that I can't easily get it on or off of the edge of my pants. This is just the right amount of tightness, so I like the clip. So what do I don't like? Well, not very much. One thing I must comment on, and you've seen a couple of examples already, is there is a bit of lock stick. The lock surface there is just metal on metal. There's no lock ball. And it does sometimes bind. Now, it's not binding right now. If I don't push it far enough out of the way, there. See, I'm pushing that lock and it felt like enough, but it still won't move. I have to really push it over to, there we are, to get it moving. And then, there we go. And then it moves quite easily. But the lock requires a fair amount of work, so I think we call that lock stick. Either a slightly different amount of tolerance, a ceramic ball, or an easier clearance to move the frame lock to the side. A number of things would reduce that, but it's just occasionally frustrating when I'm trying to demonstrate this beautiful mechanism that I get it stuck in locking. So the other thing I will mention is although the blade is gorgeous and the blade was as sharp as hell coming out of the box, the blade bevel isn't very symmetric. It's several degrees different on one side and the other. I measured it. Does that matter? Of course not. For cutting, you can't tell by looking at it. You can't tell by cutting things with it. When it matters is eventually when I get around to sharpening it, because I sharpen with a guided system. The guided system is designed to keep the bevel the same on both sides, and if you aren't starting with the bevel the same on both sides, it means the first sharpening is more work. The final thing I'll mention, it's not so much a dislike as a disappointment, and that is when I close. Here, I'll start the closing mechanism, and it's there. You see that lock stick? When I start closing, you notice my thumb is in harm's way of the blade. Now, most flippers, the flipper tab acts as a finger guard, but on this one, the flipper tab is so small and compact, which I like, that it really isn't offering much in the way of finger protection. So my thumb is in harm's way. The same complaint I routinely make about knives that are not flippers. A minor thing, I agree. That's a small number of dislikes and a large number of likes, and that really is my general impression of this knife. Let's reflect that in my internationally unknown rating system. We'll start with NTGK for non-threatening gentleman's knife. We'll start with non-threatening. So for non-threatening, the good news is, first of all, the mechanism. There's that lock stick. God damn. The mechanism. Flippers are generally scary. They go whack open and people go, switchblade. This one, less so. It's smooth and quiet and not super fast. It just flips open nicely. I think it's sort of as non-threatening as a side flipper can be. And quite surprisingly, you can actually open this with two hands. There's just a tiny amount of blade there, but because the detent is not super strong, you can actually get that blade in the meat of your finger and pull it open with two hands. And anytime I'm not in a hurry and I'm in front of people I don't know, I tend to open knives with two hands when I can. So that really improves its non-threatening nature. I think the appearance helps it be non-threatening. It is pretty, or handsome might be a better word. It doesn't look like it was designed to scare people, scare off your enemies. It looks like it was designed to be attractive in your hand and in your pocket. The smooth lines, the gorgeous carbon fiber scales, I think those all contribute to that. The only real bad on non-threatening is that, well, it is a flipper, and so, if you want, you can make a big show of opening it and make people think it's a switchblade. So if you're trying to be non-threatening, don't do that. Duh. I'd give it an A+ as non-threatening. As a gentleman's knife, it's largely good. It's handsome, nice shape, stonewashed metal, gorgeous carbon fiber. It's beautiful. The WE logo is very nice, understated, kind of stylized, and one of the only very few bits of writing anywhere on the knife that the knife is not over decorated. The only other writing on the knife, it's not easy to find, is there we are. On the side of the flipper tab, the steel is named there. So it is an understated, under-advertised knife, and I like that. And it's very pocket friendly. Deep carry clip, light so it doesn't weigh down the edge of your pocket, and the clip is not too aggressive so it doesn't grab hold of your pocket in a death grip. The bad news as a gentleman's knife is I can't really think of anything, so I'm going to give it an A+ as gentleman's knife, and so all told as an NTGK, a strong A+. Now, what about a KN rating? What will my knife nerd friends think of this knife? He says, struggling with the lock stick. They'll love the mechanism. They'll love the appearance. They'll love the carbon fiber. They won't like the lock stick. And some of my knife nerd friends are anti-China manufacturing people. Most aren't of my friends, but some are. Anyway, so I think my knife nerd friends, on average, I'd say it'll probably get an A. I think it's that occasional lock stick that's pulling it down from an A+. But overall, A+ for non-threatening, A for gentleman's knife, bit of lock stick. I'm going to give it an A. Yeah, I'm going to give it an A as a knife nerd rating. And for cutting myself, I never have, and it feels safe, good solid A as a cut myself rating. So that brings us to the end. This is a really handsome, easy to carry, attractive, useful office knife. I like it a lot. Really pocket friendly, wonderful mechanism to use and play with. Great size to actually cut things. It's one of my favorite side flipper knives, and definitely one of my favorite sort of ultra handsome office carries. Thanks for walking through it with me. Hope to see you again. Bye-bye.